Today's Haftorah in Parshat Tavo. It's amazing how it speaks to current events. It's from the book of Isaiah, chapter 60. Kumi oiri, rise and shine. Rise and shine, says the prophet, ki v'ora, because your light has come, and Hashem's glory is shining on you. Hear what he says. Verse 3, all the nations of the world will walk by your light. Aren't we living that, Sarah? All the nations are walking by our light, right? We are the super startup nation. We show them the way through ways. Right? That's what it says here. Goyim will walk by your light, and they all turn to you. Verse 4. We literally show them the ways. We're living this prophecy, what he said 2,800 years ago. And they're waiting for us to enlighten them. And we teach them how to get mayim from the air. You know, Rachel? Israel's perfected a way where we can capture the moisture in the atmosphere. I mean, it's just amazing. We sell water to Jordan, to Africa. So mamish, this prophecy is coming to life. Now the prophet tells us, some people just don't get it. Verse 4. Open up your eyes. Just open up your eyes and see how all the Jews are coming back. Your children, your sons, your daughters are all making aliyah. Not all, but a lot of them. I'm coming home, I'm coming home. So the prophet just says, open up your eyes and see the miracles unfolding in front of us. That's what the prophet is saying. But some of us, like sleepwalking. We don't realize this prophecy that's in front of us. And then the prophet goes on, verse 16. See that, Sarah, verse 16? V'yanak chalev goyim. You will nurse or suckle the milk of the nations. What does that mean? Verse 16. What does that mean? Does it say that, Rachel?
I have to find it.
Oh, it's 1201 or 1202?
No, I have
verse 16. What does it say there? Verse 16.
You shall nurse from the milk of the nation.
Now stop. What does that mean? Well, we received from America last year 38 billion, I said with a B, from the United States. That's some nursing. Now verse 18. Look at verse 18 in the Hebrew. You see that, Bainish? Verse 18 in the Hebrew. Lo yishama od chamas ba'artzech. It's just amazing. Lo yishama od Hamas ba'artzech. No longer will Hamas be heard in your land. That's what it says. All right. All right.
Yes.
Now, verse 21 is a strange verse. Va'amech kulam tzadikim. And your nation, your people are all tzadikim. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm no tzadik. Now, we know God's, John Hancock, Rachel, is truth. So how could God tell Isaiah in chapter 60, verse 21, Va'amech kulam tzadikim? I'm no tzadik. I know you are, but I'm not. So how could God say, Va'amech kulam tzadikim? You hear the question?
Yeah.
So I'll give you the shot I heard from my Rosh Hashiva Yaakov Kamenetsky, then I'll give you the Kabbalistic interpretation. Yaakov Kamenetsky, Zatzal, said, yes, compared to the nations that surround Israel, we are tzaddikim. We are tzaddikim. Look at our neighbors. Look at our neighbors. We are an island of tranquility in a sea of savages. Huh? Now, last year, Conan O'Brien was here, and he was amazed the loving kindness we show to our enemies. How many thousands of Syrians do we treat in our hospitals? Thousands. Syria is our bitter enemy. And yet the IDF takes them in across the border and puts them up in the Rambam Hospital and other places. So we are, yes, Amir Kulam Tzadikim, my Rebbe said, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. Right? An island of Chesed out of the sea of savages. That even Conan O'Brien was amazed how we treat our enemies.
Conan O'Brien.
He used to be like Johnny Carson. But anyway, that's what the Navi is saying over here. But in a Kabbalistic interpretation, V'amech kulam tzadikim is you can pay me now or you can pay me later. According to Ari HaKadosh, this is a pasuk of reincarnation. that God cannot afford to give up on any Jewish person. Because all of us are chelik Elohim imal. We all have a tzelem Elohim. So v'amei kulam tzadikim. Here's David. After all the Gilgulim and all of the tikkunim, all of us are going to be tzadikim. The question is, which Gilgul? But again, you can pay me now, you can pay me later. We're all going to make it in the end. V'amei kulam tzadikim. If not now, then after all the Gilgulim that we go through, that even a Rasha, after all the tikkunim and all the Gilgulim, because a parent cannot afford to give up on any child, no matter how rotten. And God is our loving parent. So therefore he invented the system called, how do you say Gilgulim in Hebrew? A reincarnation, a recycling of, God's in the recycling business, a recycling of souls. And this is the verse, V'amei kulam tzadikim. And then, the last pasuk, verse 22. The last two words in verse 22. Bi'ito achishena. What does that mean? How do they translate that? Bi'ito achishena.
The smaller shall increase 1,000-fold.
Right, and the end of the verse.
And the least into a mighty nation.
Right.
In its time I will hasten it.
In its time I will hasten it. And what does that mean? It seems to be like a contradiction, right? So Tavo Sanhedrin says, if we do tshuva, God will hasten the redemption. But if not, chas v'sholem, it will come in its time, by the year 6000. But the Zohar says something incredible. Fasten your seatbelts for this. Whoever you speak to, Sarah, anyone you speak to, they say, what? It's Shabbos again? It's Rosh Hashanah again? Everyone you speak to, recently, I speak to everybody, they say, what's going on? It was just Rosh Hashanah. It's just Shabbos. You heard about the moron who threw a clock out the window? He wanted to see time fly. But time is flying. So the Zohar said 2,000 years ago, Bi'ito achishena, with this interpretation, when the time for the redemption comes, achishena, I will make time fast forward. So the Zohar said, Bi'ito achishena, when the time of the redemption has to come, the final redemption, achishena, I am going to make time speed up. It's Shabbos again? I can't believe it. It's Thursday again? Yes. 2,000 years ago, the Zohar predicted this is the pasuk, and this is the clearest sign that we're very close, Rabbeinish, to what? To the Messianic era. Anyone you speak to, in Chutz La'aretz, in Israel, time is moving, Bi'ito achishena, as fast forward. So we have to hang on tight, and because it's coming. Now the Parsha itself, Parsha's Tavo, Devarim 26, Pasuk 1, begins with the mitzvah of Bikurim. Begins the mitzvah of Bikurim. Devarim 26, 1. The Medrash Bereshis Rabbah, David makes a very strange sentence. That what? B'schus the mitzvah of Bikurim did God create the universe. Of all the 613 mitzvahs, when God created the universe, which mitzvah was he thinking about first? I would say Bris Milah, I would say Shabbos, but the Bereshis Rabbah says no. B'schus Bikurim nivra olam. Why? Why is Bikurim so important? Because Bikurim represents what? Eretz Yisrael. You can't bring Bikurim in Borough Park, not even in Lakewood. Only Eretz Yisrael. Bikurim represents the holy land of Israel. And Bikurim also represents Hakara Satov. When the farmer brings his gifts to the Beis HaMikdash, he makes a whole speech praising the land of milk and honey. So Hakara Satov, how do you say that in English? Expressing gratitude and appreciation. That's why the universe was created. When someone does you good, you should express goodness. And the ultimate goodness we have to express is to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the Torah keeps repeating a phrase here over and over again. The land of Eretz Yisrael, on Devarim 26, Pasuk 9, Israel's called the land flowing with milk and honey. Devarim 26:9, in case you didn't get it, it's repeated again. It's repeated again in Devarim 26:15, a land flowing with milk and honey. In case you didn't get it again, it's repeated again in 27, Three times the Torah keeps referring to Eretz Yisrael as the land flowing with milk and honey.
26:15, 26.
It's 26 chapter verse 9. Then you have 26 verse 15. Again, Israel's called the land flowing with milk and honey. And then in chapter 27, verse 3, the end of the verse also describes Israel, land flowing with milk and honey. I get it. I mean, Baruch Hashem, we're not hard of hearing. Why 3 times does the Torah have to repeat that Israel's a land of flowing with milk and honey? What about the avocados and the oranges? Right?
Yeah.
What's so special about the land flowing with milk and honey? 3 times. So this is just amazing. You can Google this. What about the oranges and avocados? Well, oranges and avocados, you might have nicer ones in California. But you can Google it that the Israeli cow gives more milk per cow than any cow in New Jersey and even in Wyoming or Montana or the whole world. In the world. And the Israeli date palm tree gives more dates, date honey, per tree than any date tree in the world. So Kodesh Baruch Hu, 3,330 years ago, doesn't say avocados and oranges because you might have more and better ones where? In San Diego or Florida. But chalav udvash, Israel is tops. More milk per cow than any cow on earth, and more date palms per date tree than any country is Eretz Yisrael. And therefore the Torah keeps calling it the land of Israel, chalav udvash. This is before Google. Right? So you see how the Torah is what is so true. Then a strange ceremony. When you come to Eretz Yisrael, you're supposed to set up huge boulders, Devarim 27:8, and write the entire Torah on these boulders, Ba'er Heitev. Rashi says Ba'er Heitev, Rashi says in 70 languages. But all the Jews spoke Yiddish then, no? I mean, they all spoke Hebrew. So why was it necessary in Devarim 27:8 to write the Torah in 70 languages?
That's how many
Art scroll before art scroll.
Why does it say
They want the
several
nations.
Shivim Lashon. So Sif Chachamim says that all of the nations should understand the Torah. But I don't understand that, buddy. Keep the 7, go to heaven.
Where does it say in several languages?
Rashi, no, it says Be'er Heitev. Rashi quotes the Gemara in Sota. It means B'shivim Lashon. In 70 languages. The Torah had to be written in 70 languages. And Sif Chacham explains so all of the world should understand the Torah. But I thought they were only obligated to keep what?
7.
The 7. Keep the 7, go to heaven. So why did we have to, as soon as we crossed into Pisgat Zev, Ramot, set up these huge boulders, Yeshua ben Nun, and write the entire Torah in 70 languages that all the nations should understand? Why was it necessary? Keep the 7, go to heaven.
You can't understand the 7 without knowing that they come from the Torah.
Why the whole Torah? Why it's necessary? And why only now when you're crossing into Eretz Yisrael? Why only now? Because the Torah is our deed. That they shouldn't say, listem atem, you're occupying the land. Read the Torah in your own language. We're not occupying anybody's land. In their native tongue, they have to read that this is the promised land. God promised us this land. So in order to prove that we are not stealing the land, the Torah is, how do you say chozes chirut in English? The deed, how do you say, lease, the deed to this land. So therefore, the nations had to read it in the original native tongue, not to accuse us that we're occupying anybody's land. They do it anyway, but this was plan A, yes?
Rabbi, they're occupying our land.
That's right. But therefore, b'shivim lashon.
I thought the non-Jews weren't allowed to learn Torah.
Non-Jews are not supposed to learn Torah, so that just begs the question. Non-Jews are only supposed to study the Noachide laws. Very good, Rachmiel. But this is the Yotzei ben HaKlal. When the Jewish people enter the land of Israel, the whole Torah must be written in 70 languages, so the United Nations should not accuse us of theft. They do it anyway. So they should read the Torah in original language, and they will see in their native tongue that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us this land. We're not taking anybody's land.
You never end.
Now, if you look at the Devarim 27:9, Moshe tells the Jews, today you became God's people. Hayom hazeh niyet l'am. Devarim 27:9. Today you became God's people. What do you mean today? This is 40 years after Matan Torah. So what does it say? Hayom, Moshe is speaking on the last day of his life. This is 40 years after Matan Torah, and yet he says, today you became God's people. So Rashi wonders, Rashi says, B'chol yom, yiyeh b'necha kil hayom. The Torah is given every day. We got it the first time at Matan Torah. But every day, Rashi says, the Torah should be new and fresh for you. And therefore, when we make the bracha, we don't say Natan HaTorah. What does Natan HaTorah mean? We say Notein HaTorah. Notein HaTorah. Based on this pasuk, every single, today is the first day of the rest of your life, Hayom Hazeh. And therefore, we don't say Natan HaTorah, but every morning we say what? Bebeinish, Notein HaTorah. Notein HaTorah. We make the bracha every day that we thank God that every time you sit down to learn, you're getting the Torah new. And therefore Moses says, Hayom Hazeh, today. Now, the first time we got the Torah, we didn't answer anything. Here, so how did they get the Torah when they came to Eretz Yisrael? 6 tribes went on top of Har Gerizim, another 6 tribes over on top of Har Evel. The Kohanim and the Levites with the ark were where? In the valley. And they pronounced the blessing and the curses. And the Jewish people answered, Amen. Amen, Amen. How come the first time when we got the Torah, the Jewish people didn't answer anything? We just said Nasa v'nishma, but we were not required to answer Amen, Amen, Amen. And in Har Sinai, where did we look? We looked up. Here, when we were on top of Har Evel, Har Gerizim, and the ark and the Levites, Kohanim, were in the valley, we looked down. And here we answered Amen, Amen, Amen. So Ma nishtana. Why the first Kabbalah Satorah, the Jews looked up, and we were totally silent. And the second Kabbalah Satorah, you didn't know we had a second Kabbalah Satorah, right? But here it says so, that in Har Gerizim and Har Evel, when the Jews crossed into Eretz Yisrael, they got the Torah again. And this time they looked down towards the valley with the Levites and the Kohanim there with the ark. And this time they answered, Amen, Amen. What's the difference? The first Matan Torah, we had no input. We were totally passive. We had the Man, we had the Be'er Shel Miriam, we had the Anani Yakovod. We didn't do anything. So we looked up to Hashem, and we didn't say anything because we were totally passive. 40 years later, when we came to Pisgat Zev, V'safta de Ganecha, no more man, no more magic waters, no more donuts from heaven. You're going to have to work the land and cultivate the land and gather your crops. Now we're looking down. Where we're looking to? Eretz Yisrael. To prove that the land of Israel has the Kedusha of heaven. Har Sinai, we were Chutz La'aretz, so we looked to heaven. But we got the Torah a second time, on Har Evel and Har Gerizim, we looked down, because now we're not in the Chutz La'aretz. Now we are where? Eretz Yisrael. So we looked down, that the land of Israel has the same Kedusha as heaven. And here we answered, Amen, Amen. Our input was important. We had to say Amen. Because if we're not going to work the land, we're not going to get man. We'll starve. Eretz Yisrael is where we and God have to do it so happy together. And therefore, this time we answered Amen, Amen. And instead of looking heavenwards, we look down. That the land of Israel has the Kedusha of heaven. That's pretty incredible. To appreciate that we live in the land of Israel. 6 tribes were on top of Har Gerizim. The other 6 tribes were on top of Har Evel. The Kohanim and the Levites and the ark were in the valley. And the Jews answered Amen, and they looked down, not up. The chashivos of Eretz Yisrael, of living in Eretz Yisrael. Here the Torah says, V'alachta b'drachav. The purpose of the mitzvahs is V'alachta b'drachav, to walk in God's ways. To walk in God's ways. What do you mean to walk in God's ways? It says in Devarim 28, verse 9, you shall observe God's mitzvot, you should also walk in His ways. Now, isn't it redundant? If you're observing His mitzvahs, aren't you walking in His ways? There are no extra words in the Holy Torah. Devarim 28, Pasuk 9, says God has raised you up to be a holy people like He swore. You shall observe His mitzvot, and oh, by the way, you shall walk in His ways. Isn't that redundant? Obviously it's not, but the question is why not? Observing the mitzvot and also walk in His ways. Why is it not the same thing? A person can observe all the mitzvahs in the Torah, but he's not walking in God's ways. If he's a sourpuss, some people they walk around all day like they're constipated. They just can't crack a smile. You can observe all the mitzvot, v'alachte b'drachav. Yor Hashem ponav elecha. God shows you a smiley face. Every day the Kohanim, when they bless the Jewish people, they say, may God show you a smiley face. Every single day. When Yor Hashem ponav elecha, says Rashi, ponav sachakot. God shows you put on a happy face. God shows you a smiley face. So, v'alachte b'drachav. If God shows us a smiley face, we have to show our fellow Jew a smiley face. So a person can do all the mitzvahs. But if he shows someone a sour face, what's it called, sourpuss? He's doing the mitzvahs, but he's not walking in Hashem's ways. Oh. Smile, you're on candid camera. How do I know that? The Mishnah says all of our deeds are what? Are recorded. Doesn't the Mishnah say that in Avot? That our deeds are recorded? So after 120, David rolled that tape. Let's go to the videotape and the sour faces that we make to our fellow Jews. So smile, all of us are on candid camera, whether we know it or not. And what's the worst Gehenna? After 120, when God rolls that tape, and all of our embarrassing moments, and all the moments where we became angry, I'm talking about myself, that's the worst hell. The shanda, how do you say shanda in English? The shame, the embarrassment. That's the hell. According to Sefer Ikrim, that's the hell. But we have, Baruch Hashem, the opportunity, especially this month, to what? Change the diskette. How do you say change the diskette? Or rearrange the tape? But it's up to us. But anyway, the Torah says there's a new Kabbalah Satorah over here. Looks like once is not enough. Once is not enough. Why was it once not enough? Why do we have to get the Torah a second time? Before we get to that, the Parsha of the week always speaks to current events. Devarim 28:28. Avram, if this is not current events, I don't know what it is. Devarim 28:28. Anybody want to read that? 28:28. Yach Hashem b'shigaon. Here the Torah says that one of the punishments is you will go in captivity. You go into captivity. Now there's more than one type of captivity. A person can also be a digital captive. He's captivated by his dumb phone or smartphone. There's some people, the mamish, they're held captive by their dumb phone. They just can't let go. Even in Middle Shemon Esrei. I mean, it's really unbelievable. After that 120, I think they'll have to put him in the coffin with the dumb phone. They just can't let go. So this is one of the punishments, Nebuch, that a person can be held captive, not just physically, but also a digital captive, by his phone or Nebuch by his, what's it called, Facebook, whatever. So we have to guard ourselves not to become a digital captive either. You have to work on that. You have to work on that. They're addicted. They just, mamish, it's a sickness. A lot of teenagers, they get mamish mishuga, and there's a higher rate of suicide. I read this. That they're so captivated by the computer that it makes them mishuga. V'yita mishuga, Avram, Deuteronomy 28:34. V'yita mishuga. There never were so many crazy people around as now.
There were so many what people?
Crazy people. Devarim 28:34. Gibakuk. Devarim 28:34. What does it say there?
Will go mad.
You'll go mad. From watching the Facebook so long, you'll go mad, Nebuch. Now, I'm not making this up, Rachel. You can Google this, David. I'm not making this up. At the beginning of the summer, the Child Safety Council, because every year, Nebuch, parents, they left the baby in the car, Lo Yaleinu in the car, and the baby suffocates. I'm not making this up. You can Google it. The Child Safety in Israel said, leave your dumb phone next to the car seat. Because the baby, you might forget. But your dumb phone you won't forget. So not to forget the baby in the car seat, please leave your dumb phone next to the car seat. Otherwise you'll forget the kid in the car. I'm not making this up. That's Vayitim Mishuga Avram. They're more attached to their dumb phone than their baby. Vayitim Mishuga. It's sick and getting sicker. This is part of the Nebuchadnezzar, A person makes his own tzarot, unfortunately. A person makes his own troubles. Now, verse 47, it's a very difficult verse, Avram. If you read the English, it's very difficult. Devarim 28:47. You see that? Devarim 28:47. After all of these terrible curses, why will these terrible curses come? Lo Yaleinu, why?
Because you didn't serve Hashem.
Because you didn't serve Hashem with joy. It doesn't say you didn't serve Hashem. It says you didn't serve Him with joy. So what's the big gedilla, Rachel? All of these terrible curses because you didn't serve Hashem with joy? Doesn't seem to make any sense. It will say you didn't serve Hashem, I understand. But it doesn't say you didn't serve Hashem. It says you didn't serve Hashem with joy. So what's it like a felech? So that's why you get all these curses? That's what it says in English, Amram.
Mm-hmm.
What does it say? 47.
You do not serve Hashem, Hashem your God, amid gladness.
And that's why these curses come. So the Baal Shem Tov says he doesn't understand. It doesn't seem that the crime fits the punishment. Or how do we say the punishment fits the crime? So Baal Shem Tov says you have to know where to put the commas. If you don't know where to put the commas, we get all mixed up. I had a grandpa that lived with us, And did I tell you the story?
Yes.
No? Grandpa lived with us. So one evening, you heard the story?
No, I
No.
So one evening I knock on his door with my knife and fork in my hand because it's time for dinner. And he opens up the door and he sees my knife and fork and I said, "Let's eat Grandpa." He jumps out the window. It's a good thing he lived on the ground floor. Then I tried again. I knocked on the door. I said, "Let's eat Grandpa." "Now you're talking, Sonny. What's for dinner?" So Hashem Tov said the same thing. You don't want to eat your grandpa, do you? You have to know where to put the commas. Look at this. Because you didn't serve Hashem your God, sick. Comma. What's worse than that? B'simcha. You're happy about not serving Him. Worse than the sin is to be joyful that you're a sinner. As long as you're in the closet and you're ashamed, there's hope for you. But if you're joyful and you're marching parades and celebrating your abomination, that's worse than the sin. You didn't serve Hashem your God, comma, but worse than that, you were happy about not serving Him. That's worse than the sin. Why? Because if you sin and you feel bad, there's a chance you'll do tshuva. But if you're proud and you celebrate your perversion, there's no hope for you.
Aren't you supposed to?
You'll never do tshuva. That's worse than the sin. Yid Baal Shem Tov, that's why the punishment comes.
Rabbi, aren't you supposed to be also afraid of Hashem?
You're supposed to be afraid of Hashem, of course. But everybody sins. But what's your attitude when you sin?
Exactly.
Ashvera hearts or you're celebrating? When God told Moses, the Jews are worshiping the golden calf disco, did Moshe go ballistic? No. He didn't get excited. It says he came, he saw the dancing and the joy. He went ballistic. Because he thought they're sinning never with Ashvera hearts. How to say the flesh is willing? No, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So he didn't go excited, but when he saw they're celebrating their sin, they're marching in the parade, then he smashed the towers. Says Baal Shem Tov, this is it. The sin is not so terrible. Everybody sins. But if you feel guilty about it, you do tshuva. But if you're besimcha, you're a lost cause. You'll never do tshuva. If in your face you're flaunting your perversion and marching, then nebuch, you're a lost cause, nebuch. That's what the pasuk is teaching over here. As long as they're in the closet, there's hope. But you get rid of the shame. And now they're celebrating, and they're teaching in the schools. That's the way it should be. You should be a pervert. They're encouraging the children, Nebuch. They're brainwashing the kids, Nebuch. Then Nebuch, there's no hope, unfortunately. Nebuch. Now, why was a new Kabbalah Torah necessary? We got the Torah in Har Sinai. And when we cross into the Jordan, the Torah tells us, Yeshua ben Nun has to get the Jews on top of not Mount Har Sinai, top of Har Avel, Har Gerizim, and pronounce the Torah again. The Jews have to accept it again. Why was it necessary?
They had to do it in Israel.
Why? You're right, but why? How come once is not enough? Remember that movie, Once is Enough? Once is not enough. Why again? Play it again, Sam.
So many mitzvahs are for...
Well, why accept the Torah again? And the whole ceremony, this time 2 mountains. First time, David, 1 mountain. Here it's 2 mountains. You didn't know that, David. We came to Pisgat Zev. Before we got there, the Jews assembled on Har Avel, Har Gerizim, and the whole Torah was pronounced, and they said, Amen. 2 mountains. Why wasn't that? Says the Maral Mi Prague. You're sitting down. A Jewish Har Sinai, we got the Torah. We received our collective neshama. Just like a human being is made up of what? Neshama and guf. How do you say that in English? Soul and a body. So the nation also consists, Rabbinish, of a soul and a body. When we got the Torah at Har Sinai in Chutz La'aretz, we received our collective neshama. So we had to accept the Torah when the Jewish people were given the collective soul. But for 40 years, we were like a neshama b'li guf. How do you say that in English? A soul without a body. Only when we came to Pisgat Zev. I mean, where do you live?
Me?
Yeah.
In Rechav.
In Rechavia. I mean Ramot. I mean Ashkelon. Only then did you receive what? The collective guf. So a new Kabbalah Torah is necessary. Har Sinai, the neshama received the Torah. But getting the Torah and living outside of Israel is like a neshama without a guf. Where did the nation receive its collective body? I ain't got no body. Where? In Eretz Yisrael. So a new Kabbalah Torah was necessary when the Jewish people received their collective body. So person has Torah in Chutz La'aretz, he's like a soul without a body. A person lives in Eretz Yisrael, but he has no Torah, he's like what? A body without a soul. Either way, nishka mensch. How do you say that in English? Either way, it's nishka mensch. Neshama b'li guf, guf b'li neshama. Only in Eretz Yisrael with Torah do you have what? And a guf. So therefore, a new Kabbalah Torah was necessary. This time, when the Jewish people received its collective guf. So for 40 years, we were like a disembodied soul. You can have Torah, but if you don't have Eretz Yisrael, you're like a soul without a body. If you have Eretz Yisrael, without Torah, you're a body without a soul. Either way is no good. Go ahead.
Well, it was a new generation because we had to get rid of our slavery mentality.
And this is actually a pasuk that look at Deuteronomy 29:3. Look at Deuteronomy 29:3. You don't have a book. Haval. 29:3. You want to read that? Otherwise, this pasuk. How do you understand this verse? Devarim 29:3. Avram, you have it?
That's next.
No. Devarim 29:3. This speaks Parsha. God didn't give you.
Hashem did not give you a heart to know, or eyes to see, or ears to hear until this day.
What does that mean? What does that mean? We didn't have a heart, we didn't have eyes or ears until today? What does that mean? So the Maral says, yes, because all the time in Chutz La'aretz we were a disembodied soul. Only now you're coming to Eretz Yisrael will you receive your collective heart. your collective eyes and ears. But for 40 years, you were like a neshama without a body. Now, you're coming to Eretz Yisrael, now you gotta have heart, eyes, and ears. And therefore, look at verse 5. You didn't eat human food, right? Doesn't verse 5 say, why didn't we eat human food? What does it say there?
Bread you did not eat, and wine or intoxicant you did not drink, so that you would know that I am Hashem your God.
Why couldn't we eat normal food for 40 years? Why? I ain't got nobody. Isn't that incredible? The morale, he goes on with this. For 40 years, Rabbanish, we couldn't eat pastrami sandwiches. Not even yours. Because we had no body. We are a disembodied, when the neshama without a goof. Because we didn't have Pisgat Zev. Rechavia. Ashkelon. So therefore, we couldn't eat normal physical food. We ate angel food. Remember Betty Crocker? Angel food we ate. Come because we were like a neshama, like an angel without a body. We couldn't eat physical food. Don't you get it? Only when you came to Eretz Yisrael did you have Angel's Bakery. Berman's.
This is why Jews like honey cake?
You hear what I'm saying with Banish? It's just amazing how it all fits. Therefore, we couldn't eat normal food until we came to Eretz Yisrael. Isn't that amazing how it fits?
Yeah. We were like a soul but not a body. So
Right.
How did we commit those sins, bodily lusts and stuff?
Well, it was the Erev Rav, wasn't it? Most of those sins were committed by the Erev Rav, the fifth column, remember? The infiltrators, what do you call them?
We have them today.
That's right, we have them. The Zohar says that every generation there's a reincarnation of the Erev Rav. But anyway, we have to appreciate that we have a body and a soul. Those people in Chutz La'aretz to have Torah, they ain't got Israel, they're in the Shama without a goof. Those Jews who live in Eretz Yisrael never can have no Torah, like what? A goof without a neshama. So thank God we have both, Rabbanish. We have the neshama, the Torah, and we have the goof, Pisgat Zev. Now we can eat the pastrami. 5 o'clock. Wow. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us Hashana Tova Metuka. Sunday we have a special shiur. It's called How to Turn a Sin into a Win. How to turn a sin into a win. That's Sunday at 2.